The stagecoach rolled into Petaluma, California on the coldest December morning the town had seen in 20 years, and Adelaide Pritchard thought she might die before ever meeting the man who had promised to marry her. Her fingers were numb inside her thin Eastern gloves, and her traveling dress, appropriate for Boston autumns, did nothing against the biting wind that swept down from the mountains. She clutched her carpetbag tighter as the driver helped her down, his weathered face showing concern at her chattering teeth. "You all right there, miss?" he asked, steadying her as her legs wobbled from 3 weeks of travel. "I will be," Adelaide managed, though she wasn't certain. The town stretched before her, smaller than she had imagined, wooden buildings lining a muddy main street. Frost clung to the edges of everything, glittering in the weak morning sunlight. "I am looking for Nathan Cole. Do you know where I might find him?" The driver's expression shifted, something like respect crossing his features. "Cole Ranch is about 5 miles north of town, but miss, you cannot walk that in this weather, not dressed like that. Let me take you to the general store first. Mrs. Henderson will help you get proper warm." Adelaide wanted to protest, to insist she meet her intended husband immediately after traveling so far, but another gust of wind made the decision for her. Her teeth clacked together so hard she feared they might crack. The driver led her across the street to a building with a painted sign reading Henderson's General Store. The warmth hit her the moment she stepped inside, and she nearly wept with relief. A pot-bellied stove glowed in the corner, radiating blessed heat. A woman looked up from behind the counter, her kind eyes taking in Adelaide's shivering form. "Good Lord, you must be the mail-order bride Nathan sent for," the woman said, hurrying around the counter. "I am Martha Henderson. Come here by the stove before you catch your death." Adelaide allowed herself to be guided to a chair near the heat source. "How did you know? Small town, dear. Word travels. Nathan mentioned he had written east for a wife. I did not expect you to arrive in the dead of winter, though." Martha disappeared into the back room and returned with a heavy wool blanket, which she wrapped around Adelaide's shoulders. "What were you thinking, traveling out here now?" "The letter said he needed a wife as soon as possible," Adelaide said, finally feeling sensation return to her fingertips. "I had no other prospects, and winter seemed as good a time as any." That was partly true. What she didn't mention was the scandal that had made staying in Boston impossible, the broken engagement to a man who had turned out to be already married, the shame that had followed her family. When she had seen Nathan Cole's advertisement seeking a wife, it had seemed like Providence, a fresh start in California, far from wagging tongues and pitying glances. Martha studied her with shrewd but kind eyes. "Well, you are here now. Let me fix you some hot coffee and find you proper winter clothes. You will freeze solid before you even reach the Cole Ranch otherwise." An hour later, Adelaide was dressed in a borrowed coat lined with fur, thick woolen stockings, and sturdy boots. Martha had refused payment, saying Nathan could settle up later. The storekeeper had also arranged for her husband to drive Adelaide out to the ranch in their wagon. Mr. Henderson was a taciturn man who seemed content to let the horses do the talking as they made their way north out of town. Adelaide watched the landscape roll past, hills covered in brown grass, dark clusters of oak trees, and in the distance, mountains still white with snow. The land felt vast and empty in a way Boston never had. Back east, civilization pressed in on all sides. Here, the sky seemed endless. "That is the Cole place," Mr. Henderson finally said, pointing. Adelaide's breath caught. The ranch spread across a valley, fences marking pastures where cattle huddled against the cold. A sturdy house sat on a rise, smoke curling from its chimney. Outbuildings dotted the property, everything looking well-maintained and prosperous. This was far more than she had expected. As they drew closer, a man emerged from the barn. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in heavy canvas pants and a sheepskin coat. Even from a distance, Adelaide could see he moved with purpose, every gesture efficient and sure. Nathan Cole stopped when he saw the wagon approaching, pushing his hat back to get a better look. Adelaide's heart hammered. This was the man she had agreed to marry, whose letters had been brief but honest, who had offered her a way out when she had desperately needed one. Mr. Henderson pulled the wagon to a stop. "Got a delivery for you, Nathan." Nathan approached, and Adelaide got her first clear look at his face. He was perhaps 30, with strong features weathered by sun and wind, a firm jaw shadowed with stubble, and eyes the color of summer grass. Not handsome in the refined way Eastern gentlemen were, but striking in a way that made her pulse quicken. "Miss Pritchard." His voice was deep, with a slight roughness that suggested he spent more time talking to horses than people. "Mr. Cole." Adelaide accepted his hand as he helped her down from the wagon. His grip was strong but careful, and even through her gloves, she could feel the calluses that spoke of hard work. They stood looking at each other for a long moment. His eyes traveled over her face, and she wondered what he saw. She knew she wasn't a beauty. Her features were too strong, her chin too determined, her brown hair too ordinary, but his expression softened slightly. "You came," he said simply. "I gave you my word I would." Something flickered in his eyes, approval perhaps. He turned to Mr. Henderson. "Thank you for bringing her out. Tell Martha I will settle my account this week." "No rush, Nathan. You folks take care." The storekeeper tipped his hat and turned the wagon around. Adelaide stood in the ranch yard, suddenly acutely aware that she was alone with a stranger she had promised to marry. The cold wind tugged at her borrowed coat. "You must be frozen through," Nathan said. "Let me show you inside." He picked up her carpetbag as if it weighed nothing and led her toward the house. Adelaide followed, her boots crunching on the frost-hardened ground. The house was larger up close, built of solid timber with a wide porch. Nathan opened the door and gestured for her to enter first. The interior was warm and surprisingly tidy for a bachelor household. A large main room served as both kitchen and living area, with a stone fireplace crackling cheerfully. Simple furniture, well made and practical, filled the space. Doors led off to what she assumed were bedrooms. "I was not expecting you until spring," Nathan said, setting down her bag. He pulled off his hat, revealing dark brown hair that needed a trim. "I would have come to meet you in town if I had known." "The letter I sent must not have arrived yet," Adelaide said, unwinding the scarf from around her neck. "I apologize for the surprise." "No apology needed." "I am glad you are here." He moved to the stove and poured coffee from a pot that had been staying warm. "This will help." Adelaide accepted the cup gratefully, wrapping both hands around it. The coffee was strong and hot, exactly what she needed. Nathan watched her with those steady green eyes, and she felt heat rise to her cheeks that had nothing to do with the temperature. "I should be honest with you," he said after a moment. "Ranch life is hard work, especially in winter. I cannot offer you an easy life or fancy things. But I can promise you will never go hungry, never be cold, and I will treat you with respect." "That is more than many women have," Adelaide replied. "I did not come here expecting luxury, Mr. Cole. I came looking for a fresh start and an honest partnership." He nodded slowly. "Nathan." "You should call me Nathan. Then you must call me Adelaide." "Adelaide." He said her name carefully, as if testing how it felt. "There is a spare bedroom where you can sleep until we are properly married. I have already spoken to Reverend Matthews in town. He can perform the ceremony whenever you are ready." Adelaide set down her coffee cup. I am ready now if you are. I did not travel 3,000 miles to delay. Nathan's eyebrows rose slightly. You want to marry today? Is there a reason to wait? She met his gaze directly. We entered into this arrangement with clear understanding. I see no benefit in prolonging the formalities. For the first time, the corner of his mouth lifted in what might have been the beginning of a smile. You are not what I expected, Adelaide Pritchard. Is that a good thing or bad? Good, he said firmly. Very good, I will hitch up the wagon. We can be in town by early afternoon. 2 hours later, Adelaide stood in the small church in Petaluma, still wearing her traveling dress, now thoroughly wrinkled. Nathan had changed into clean clothes, his hair still damp from washing. Reverend Matthews, a portly man with kind eyes, stood before them. Martha Henderson had been summoned as a witness, along with her husband. Dearly beloved, the Reverend began, and Adelaide felt the weight of what she was doing settle over her. She was marrying a stranger, binding her life to his in this rough frontier town, so far from everything she had known. But when Nathan took her hand, his grip warm and steady, some of the anxiety eased. She looked up at him and found him watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Not love, certainly, they had only just met, but something solid and reassuring. I, Nathan Cole, take you, Adelaide Pritchard, to be my lawfully wedded wife, he said when prompted, his deep voice filling the small church. To have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. Adelaide repeated her own vows, her voice steadier than she expected. When the Reverend pronounced them man and wife, Nathan leaned down and pressed a chaste kiss to her forehead. His lips were warm, the gesture gentle. "Welcome to California, Mrs. Cole," he murmured. The ride back to the ranch felt different now. Adelaide was acutely aware of the man beside her, no longer her intended but her husband. The gold ring he had placed on her finger was simple and slightly loose, but it caught the afternoon light as she held the reins of her life in these unfamiliar hands. "Tell me about the ranch," she said, wanting to fill the silence with something other than her nervous thoughts. Nathan seemed to relax at the question. "We run about 200 head of cattle. It is not the biggest operation, but it is mine, paid for with honest work. I have 3 ranch hands who help with the heavy labor. They have their own bunkhouse, so they would not bother you. We raise mostly beef cattle, sell to buyers who ship east and to the mining camps up in the mountains. You have other animals. Chickens, a few pigs, 3 horses besides the wagon team, and a dog, though she is more interested in herding than being friendly." As if on cue, a black and white dog appeared, running alongside the wagon with tongue lolling. "That is Maggie." Adelaide smiled despite her nerves. "She is beautiful. She is useful," Nathan corrected, but there was affection in his tone. "Out here, everything has to earn its keep." "Including wives?" Adelaide asked before she could stop herself. Nathan turned to look at her fully. "A wife is not livestock, Adelaide. You are my partner now." "That means something." The sincerity in his voice made her throat tight. "I can cook and keep house. I can read and write, and I am good with numbers. I managed my father's accounts before he died. Your father passed 3 years ago. My mother followed 6 months later. I have been living with my uncle's family since then." She did not mention how unwelcome she had become, how her scandal had tainted them by association. "They were relieved when I decided to come west." Nathan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was gentle. "You have a home here now, for as long as you want it." The ranch came into view again, and Adelaide felt something settle in her chest. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was possibility. Nathan helped her down from the wagon and led her inside, where the fire had burned down to embers. I will show you the rest of the house, he said, adding wood to the fireplace. Kitchen is here, as you can see. There is a pump in the yard for water, but I usually keep buckets filled inside during winter. That door there leads to the washroom, not fancy but functional. He led her down a short hallway. This is the spare room. I cleaned it out for you. He opened the door to reveal a simple bedroom with a bed, dresser, and small window. Clean quilts were folded at the foot of the bed. And this is the main bedroom, Nathan continued, opening the opposite door. This room was larger, with a substantial bed and a wardrobe. It is yours now if you want it. I can sleep in the spare room until you are comfortable. Adelaide turned to face him. We are married, Nathan. In law and in God's eyes, yes. But I will not force myself on you, Adelaide. You have had a long journey and a lot of change. There is no shame in taking time. His consideration touched her more than passionate words might have. She stepped closer, looking up into his weathered face. You are a good man. I try to be. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. You look exhausted. Why don't you rest while I see to the evening chores? I will make a supper when I come back in. You cook. A man living alone learns, or he starves. That almost smile appeared again. I won't say it is good cooking, but it is adequate. Adelaide found herself smiling back. Perhaps we can share the task. I admit I am tired, but I would like to be useful. Tomorrow, Nathan said firmly. Today you rest. She wanted to argue, but another yawn overtook her. The past weeks of travel, the stress of the journey, the whirlwind wedding, it all crashed over her at once. Perhaps you are right. Nathan showed her where things were, the wash basin and towels, the chamber pot discreetly tucked in the corner. Then he left her alone, closing the door softly behind him. Adelaide sat on the edge of the bed, the reality of her situation finally sinking in. She was married. She was in California. She was Mrs. Nathan Cole, wife of a cattle rancher, mistress of this frontier home. Everything she had known was 3,000 miles away, and there was no going back. She unpacked her carpetbag, hanging her few dresses in the wardrobe, setting out her brush and mirror. Her mother's Bible, the only valuable thing she owned, she placed carefully on the small table beside the bed. Then she removed her traveling dress and washed with the cool water in the basin, scrubbing away the dust of the journey. When she lay down, just meaning to close her eyes for a moment, she fell immediately into deep sleep. She woke to darkness and the smell of cooking meat. Disoriented, Adelaide sat up, trying to remember where she was. Then it came back in a rush. The ranch. Nathan. Her wedding day. She dressed quickly and emerged from the bedroom to find Nathan at the stove, stirring something in a large pot. He looked up when he heard her footsteps. I was about to wake you. Stew is ready. What time is it? Near about 7. You slept for almost 3 hours. He ladled stew into 2 bowls and brought them to the table. Sit. Eat. The stew was simple but good, chunks of beef and vegetables in a rich broth. Adelaide realized she was ravenous, having eaten little during the journey. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Tell me about Boston, Nathan said eventually. I have never been further east than Nevada. Adelaide described the city, the crowds and noise, the buildings stacked so close together you could barely see the sky. She told him about the harbor and the ships, the markets and theaters. But she also told him about the cold formality, the rigid social rules, the way one misstep could ruin a reputation forever. Is that what happened to you? Nathan asked quietly. A misstep. Adelaide set down her spoon. I was engaged to a man. He seemed respectable, from a good family. I thought I was fortunate. She took a breath. It turned out he was already married. His wife lived in New York. When the truth came out, somehow I was the one blamed. People said I must have known that I was trying to trap him or ruin him. My name became synonymous with scandal. Nathan's expression darkened. That is not right. You were deceived. That did not matter. Fair or not, I could not stay. Every door closed to me, every former friend turned away. When I saw your advertisement, it felt like the only option I had left. She waited for judgment, for disappointment that she had come to him tainted by scandal. Instead, Nathan reached across the table and covered her hand with his. Everyone deserves a second chance, he said. Out here, what matters is what you do, not what people say about you. Your past is your business, Adelaide. I am more interested in our future. Tears pricked her eyes, the first she had allowed herself since leaving Boston. Thank you. For what? For not making me feel ashamed. Nathan squeezed her hand gently before releasing it. You have nothing to be ashamed of. They finished their meal, and Adelaide insisted on helping clean up despite Nathan's protests. As she washed the dishes in a basin of heated water, she felt him watching her. What is it? She asked. I am trying to reconcile the woman in front of me with the carefully worded letters I received. Were you disappointed when you saw me? No. The answer was immediate and firm. Curious, maybe. Interested, definitely, but not disappointed. Adelaide felt heat rise to her cheeks again. She dried the last dish and turned to face him. I should be honest, too. I was frightened when I saw you. Not because of you, she added quickly, but because this is all so real now. I have bet everything on a stranger's honor. Nathan stood and crossed to her. Up close, she could see the fine lines around his eyes, the small scar on his chin, the way his gaze never wavered from hers. I know I am not much of a talker, he said, and I know this is not the life you were raised for. But I will do everything in my power to make sure you never regret coming here. I believe you, Adelaide whispered. He raised his hand slowly, cupping her cheek. His palm was rough with calluses, but his touch was gentle. May I kiss you, properly this time? Adelaide's heart raced. Yes. Nathan leaned down, giving her time to change her mind, and pressed his lips to hers. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, learning the shape of each other. Then Adelaide felt his arm slip around her waist, drawing her closer, and the kiss deepened. Heat bloomed in her chest, spreading through her body. She clutched the front of his shirt, suddenly dizzy with sensation. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. Nathan rested his forehead against hers. I have been thinking about that since you stepped off the wagon, he admitted. Only since then? Adelaide asked, surprised by her own boldness. He chuckled, the sound rumbling through his chest. Maybe since I read your first letter and you wrote that you were not afraid of hard work or wide open spaces. I might have exaggerated slightly. The spaces here are wider than I imagined. Does it scare you? Adelaide thought about it. It should. But somehow it feels more freeing than frightening. Nathan kissed her again, longer this time, his hand spanning her waist. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with desire. Your room or mine? Ours, Adelaide said, making the choice. If you still want to share. I want to, Nathan said, his voice rough. But only if you are certain. I am your wife. I want to be your wife in all ways. He took her hand and led her to the main bedroom. Inside, he lit a lamp on the dresser, filling the room with soft golden light. Adelaide's pulse thundered in her ears as Nathan closed the door behind them. I will be gentle, he promised, stepping close again. If you want me to stop at any point, just say so. I trust you. He kissed her again, his hands moving to the buttons of her dress. Adelaide fumbled with his shirt, her fingers clumsy with nerves and anticipation. They undressed each other slowly, pausing for kisses and whispered assurances. When Adelaide stood in only her chemise, Nathan's gaze traveled over her with unmistakable appreciation. You are beautiful, he said. I am ordinary. Not to me. He lifted her and laid her on the bed, following her down. The feel of his weight, his warmth, the strength in his arms as he held her, it made Adelaide feel safe in a way she hadn't in years. When they came together, there was a moment of discomfort, but Nathan was true to his word, gentle and patient, waiting for her to adjust. Then there was only sensation, the slide of skin against skin, the rhythm they found together, the building heat that crested and broke like a wave. Adelaide cried out, surprised by the intensity of it, and felt Nathan follow her over the edge moments later. They lay tangled together afterward, the quilt pulled up against the cold. Nathan traced lazy patterns on her shoulder. "Are you all right?" he asked. "Better than all right," Adelaide said honestly. "I did not expect it to be like that." "Like what?" "So consuming." She felt him smile against her hair. "It will get even better as we learn each other." The promise in those words made her shiver with anticipation. She turned in his arms to face him. "Nathan, I know we married as strangers, but I want this to be a real marriage. I want to build something lasting with you." "That is all I want too." He kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. "Sleep now. Tomorrow I will show you the ranch properly, introduce you to the hands, teach you everything you need to know." Adelaide nestled against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. Outside, the winter wind howled, but here in this bed in her husband's arms, she was warm and safe. For the first time since her world had fallen apart in Boston, she felt like she might actually be home. She woke to gray dawn light and the sound of Nathan moving quietly around the room. He was already half-dressed, pulling on his heavy work shirt. "Sorry," he whispered when he saw her eyes open. "Did not mean to wake you." "What time is it?" "Just past 5. Stock needs tending even in winter, especially in winter." He sat on the edge of the bed and brushed hair from her face. "You sleep more. No need for you to be up this early." But Adelaide sat up, clutching the quilt to her chest. "I want to learn the routine. Give me a moment to dress and I will make you breakfast." "Adelaide, it is cold out there." "Then I will dress warmly." Nathan studied her for a moment, then nodded. "All right, but bundle up properly. I will get the fire going stronger in the main room." Adelaide dressed quickly in her warmest clothes, layering stockings and petticoats under her heaviest dress. When she emerged, Nathan was coaxing the fire to life, adding logs until it roared cheerfully. "Coffee first," he said, showing her how he liked it made, strong enough to stand a spoon in. "Then I usually just have bread and butter, maybe some bacon if I am hungry." Adelaide took over the cooking, frying thick slices of bacon and making eggs in the rendered fat. Nathan watched her with approval, sipping his coffee. "You do know your way around a kitchen," he observed. "My mother insisted I learn, even though we had a cook. She said a woman should be able to feed her family no matter the circumstances." Adelaide plated the food and brought it to the table. "She would have liked you, I think." "Why is that?" "She valued honesty and hard work above social standing. My father was a merchant who built his business from nothing. Some of the society families looked down on us for it." "Sounds like your mother was a wise woman." They ate quickly, the food warming them from the inside. When they finished, Nathan bundled Adelaide into her borrowed coat and led her outside. The cold hit like a physical blow, stealing her breath. Frost covered everything, turning the ranch into a winter wonderland. Adelaide's breath plumed in the frigid air as she followed Nathan toward the barn. Inside, it was marginally warmer, the body heat of animals taking the edge off. 3 horses nickered at their approach, and Nathan stopped to stroke each one's nose. "This is Thunder," he said, indicating a large bay gelding. "He is my riding horse. This mare is Bella and that is Sam. They are the wagon team you met yesterday." Adelaide approached carefully, holding out her hand for them to sniff. Bella nuzzled her palm, warm breath tickling her skin. "You ride?" Nathan asked. "I used to as a girl, but side saddle and only on very tame horses in city parks. I will teach you to ride properly if you like. Out here, it is a useful skill." They moved through the morning chores, Nathan explaining everything, feeding the horses, mucking stalls, checking water troughs. Then outside again to the chicken coop, where Adelaide gathered eggs while Nathan scattered feed. The chickens clucked and fussed, their feathers fluffed against the cold. 3 men approached as they were finishing with the chickens. They were bundled in heavy coats, breath frosting the air. "Boys, this is my wife, Adelaide," Nathan said. "Adelaide, these are my hands, Tom Brennan, Carlos Mendoza, and young Billy Patterson." Tom was the oldest, perhaps 50, with a grizzled beard. Carlos was dark-eyed and handsome, probably in his 30s. Billy looked barely 20, with a shock of red hair visible under his hat. "Madam," they chorused, removing their hats respectfully. "It is nice to meet you all," Adelaide said. "I hope we will work well together." "Any wife of Nathan's is fine by us," Tom said. "He is a good man to work for. Fair and honest." The men went about their business, heading out to check on the cattle in the far pastures. Nathan led Adelaide back toward the house, but paused at a smaller building. "Smokehouse," he explained. "We butchered a steer last month, still have plenty of meat curing." He showed her the hanging cuts, explaining how they would last through the winter and beyond. By the time they returned to the house, Adelaide's fingers and toes were numb again, despite the layers. Nathan built up the fire and made more coffee while she huddled close to the warmth. "You did well," he said, handing her a steaming cup. "Most Eastern women would not last 10 minutes in this cold, let alone a full morning of chores. I am tougher than I look. I am beginning to see that." He sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. "What would you like to do with the rest of the day?" "I should probably inventory the pantry, see what supplies we have, what we need. And I want to give the house a thorough cleaning. Not that it is dirty," she added quickly. "But I would like to know where everything is, make it feel like mine." "Make it feel like ours," Nathan corrected gently. The next few days fell into a pattern. Mornings were for chores, Nathan teaching Adelaide the rhythms of ranch life. Afternoons she spent organizing the house, cooking, mending clothes that had been neglected too long. Evenings they spent together, talking by the fire, learning each other's histories and hopes. And the nights, those were a revelation. Nathan was an attentive lover, patient and generous, learning what made Adelaide gasp and shiver. She grew bolder too, exploring his body, discovering what pleased him. The passion between them built steadily, a warmth that had nothing to do with the fire and everything to do with growing intimacy. A week after their wedding, a storm rolled in. Adelaide woke to Nathan's hand on her shoulder, shaking her gently. "Big snow coming," he said. "Can you help me get the animals secured?" They dressed quickly and rushed outside. The sky was the color of lead and the wind had picked up, cutting through even the heaviest clothes. Together they worked to ensure all the animals had shelter and plenty of food and water to last several days if needed. Tom, Carlos, and Billy arrived to help, moving with practiced efficiency. They secured anything that might blow away, brought in extra firewood, and checked every building for weaknesses. The first flakes began falling as they finished, fat and heavy. Nathan sent the hands to the bunkhouse with extra provisions. "Storm like this, we might not see each other for a few days," he told them. "Stay warm and safe." Inside, Adelaide prepared a large pot of stew and baked bread, filling the house with warmth and good smells. Nathan moved around checking windows, making sure everything was sealed tight. The storm hit in earnest just after dark. Wind howled around the house, rattling the windows. Snow fell so thick Adelaide couldn't see the barn, though it was only 30 yards away. "Will the animals be all right?" she asked, watching the white chaos through the window. "They will be fine. I have weathered plenty of storms like this." Nathan pulled her away from the window and back toward the fire. "The danger is not to them, but to anyone foolish enough to be out in it. Man can get turned around in a blizzard, freeze to death 10 feet from his own door." Adelaide shivered at the thought. Nathan wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on the top of her head. "We are safe here," he assured her. "House is solid, we have food and fuel, nothing to worry about." They ate supper and tried to distract themselves with reading and conversation, but the storm made it difficult to focus. The house creaked and groaned under the assault of wind. "Tell me about your family," Adelaide said, curled against Nathan on the settle near the fire. "You have not mentioned them much." Nathan was quiet for a moment. "Not much to tell. My pa died when I was 12, kicked by a horse. Ma tried to keep the farm going, but it was too much. She remarried a few years later, moved to Oregon with her new husband. I was nearly grown by then, hired myself out as a ranch hand. You still see her. She passed 5 years ago. Fever took her and her husband both." His voice was matter-of-fact, but Adelaide heard the old grief beneath it. "I worked other people's ranches for near about 15 years, saved every penny. When this land came up for sale, I had just enough to make the down payment. You built all this yourself, with help. Tom has been with me from the start. Carlos joined 3 years ago, Billy just last spring. But yes, this place is mine. Not inherited, not given. Mine because I worked for it." The pride in his voice made Adelaide's chest tight. "That is remarkable, Nathan. It is just life." He tightened his arm around her. "What about you? What did you dream of becoming before life got complicated?" Adelaide thought back to her younger self, full of ideals and expectations. "I wanted to travel, see the world. I read everything I could about far-off places. Egypt, India, China. I wanted adventure." "Well, you got as far as California," she laughed. "That is true. Though this was not quite the adventure I imagined." "Disappointed?" "No," she said honestly. "Surprised, but not disappointed. This is real in a way my old dreams never were." They went to bed early, the storm still raging outside. Making love while the wind howled felt primal somehow, affirming life in the face of nature's fury. Afterward, they lay tangled together, listening to the storm. "Adelaide," Nathan said softly, "I need to tell you something." His serious tone made her nervous. "What is it?" "I did not expect this. When I sent for a mail-order bride, I thought it would be a practical arrangement. Companionship, help around the ranch, maybe children eventually. I did not expect to feel this way." "What way?" "Like I cannot imagine life without you. Like you have always been here, always been mine." He turned to face her in the darkness. "I know it has only been a week. I know it is too soon to call it love. But Adelaide, I am falling for you, and I am falling hard." Tears sprang to Adelaide's eyes. "Nathan, I feel the same. Every day I wake up grateful I answered your letter, grateful for this chance. You have given me more than a home. You have given me hope." He kissed her, slow and deep. "Then we are building something together. Not just a ranch, but a life. A real partnership." "Yes," Adelaide whispered against his lips. "Yes, that is what I want." The storm raged for 2 days. They emerged occasionally to dig paths to the necessary buildings, to check on animals, but mostly they stayed inside, cocooned in warmth and growing affection. They talked about everything, learning each other's minds as thoroughly as they had learned each other's bodies. Adelaide told him about her childhood, the books she loved, her complicated feelings about her uncle's family. Nathan shared stories of his years working other people's land, the loneliness of that life, his dreams for expanding the ranch. "I want to improve the herd," he said on the second evening as they sat together doing small repairs, Adelaide mending while Nathan worked on a bridle. Breed for better beef cattle, maybe get some dairy cows too, sell milk and butter in town. That sounds ambitious. This land can support it. We have good water, good grass. Just needs investment and work. He glanced at her. I hope to build something to pass on to our children when we have them. Adelaide's hand stilled on the shirt she was mending. You want children, of course. I thought that was understood. Nathan looked concerned. Do you not want them? I do, Adelaide said quickly. I just did not know if you did. You never mentioned it in your letters. Seemed like something to discuss in person. He set aside the bridle and moved to sit beside her. I would like a family, Adelaide, but there is no rush. We have time to just be us first if you prefer. She thought about it, imagining a child with Nathan's green eyes or his quiet strength. I think I would like that. A family, not right away, but eventually. Eventually, Nathan agreed, kissing her temple. We have plenty of time. On the third day, the storm finally blew itself out. They woke to brilliant sunshine and a world transformed. Snow had drifted as high as the windowsills in places, covering everything in pristine white. Nathan bundled up and went out first, digging a path to the barn. Adelaide watched from the window as he and the hands emerged, all of them unharmed. They checked the livestock together, digging paths to each building. When Nathan returned for lunch, his cheeks were red with cold but his eyes bright. Everyone and everything made it through fine, he reported. Lost a section of fence in the north pasture, but that is easily fixed. All in all, we were fortunate. Adelaide had hot soup and fresh bread waiting. The hands joined them, tracking snow across her clean floor, but she didn't mind. They were all safe, all together. It felt like family. Over the next weeks, winter settled in fully. There were more storms, but none as fierce as that first one. Adelaide grew more confident in her role, learning to predict weather by watching the sky, to judge when animals needed extra feed, to preserve food and manage supplies. She also began to make the house truly hers. Using fabric from a bolt she found in the back of a closet, she sewed curtains for the windows. She rearranged furniture, added small touches that made the space feel more like a home. Nathan watched these changes with quiet approval. Place hasn't felt this much like a home since my mother's house, he said one evening, running his hand over a new tablecloth Adelaide had embroidered. It is a good house. It just needed a woman's touch. It needed your touch. Christmas approached, and Adelaide felt a pang of homesickness for the first time. Not for Boston specifically, but for the traditions she had grown up with. The caroling, the decorated tree, the special foods. Nathan noticed her melancholy. What is wrong? Nothing, really. I was just thinking about Christmas. We can celebrate if you want. It is not something I have done much, living alone, but I am willing to learn. Adelaide brightened. Really? Could we have a tree, and maybe I could make special foods? I could invite the hands to dinner. Whatever you want. Nathan pulled her into his lap, nuzzling her neck. Tell me what you need, and I will make it happen. 2 days before Christmas, Nathan and Billy brought back a small pine tree. Adelaide spent the afternoon decorating it with strings of dried berries and paper ornaments she cut from old newspapers. It wasn't fancy, but it was beautiful in its simplicity. She spent Christmas Eve cooking, preparing a feast from their stored provisions. Roasted chicken, potatoes, vegetables she had put up in jars, bread, and a dried apple pie. The house smelled wonderful. Tom, Carlos, and Billy arrived for dinner, scrubbed clean and wearing their best clothes. They were shy at first, unaccustomed to such domestic comfort, but Adelaide's warmth put them at ease. This is real nice, madam, Billy said, eyes wide at the spread of food. I have not had a Christmas dinner since I left home. Then I am glad you can share ours, Adelaide said, meaning it. They ate and talked, the men sharing stories of Christmases past, of families scattered across the country. Adelaide felt a swell of affection for these rough, honest men who worked so hard in such difficult conditions. After dinner, she brought out small gifts she had prepared. For each man, she had knitted thick wool socks, knowing how precious warm, dry feet were in winter. They were clearly moved, stammering their thanks. "You did not have to do that," Tom said, his weathered face soft with emotion. "I wanted to. You are part of this ranch, part of our lives. That makes you family." When the hands had returned to the bunkhouse, Nathan pulled Adelaide into his arms. "That was a fine thing you did," he said. "Those men do not have much softness in their lives. You gave them something precious. They deserve it. They work so hard. So do you." Nathan released her and went to the bedroom, returning with a small wrapped package. "I got you something too." Adelaide's eyes widened. "Nathan, you did not need to. Open it." Inside was a beautiful leather-bound journal and a set of pencils. Adelaide ran her fingers over the smooth cover, touched beyond words. "You mentioned you used to write," Nathan said. "Thoughts, observations, things like that. I thought you might want to continue. It is perfect." She set the journal aside carefully and threw her arms around his neck. "Thank you, I love it. I am glad." He held her close. "I have something else too, but it is not wrapped." He led her to the window and pointed. In the yard, barely visible in the moonlight, stood a new structure, the framework of what would be a larger chicken coop. "I started building it last week whenever I had spare time," Nathan explained. "Thought we could expand our flock, have more eggs to sell in town. Give you something of your own to manage." Adelaide stared at the structure, overwhelmed. It wasn't just about chickens. It was Nathan showing her that he valued her contribution, that he saw her as a true partner. "I do not know what to say. Say you like the idea. I love it." She turned to him, cupping his face in her hands. "I love all of this. The journal, the coop, this life we are building together." Nathan's expression grew serious. "Adelaide, I know I am not good with fancy words, but I need you to know you are the best thing that has ever happened to me. Before you came, I had a ranch. Now I have a home. Nathan Cole, are you telling me you love me?" "Yes." The word was simple, but weighted with feeling. "I love you, Adelaide. I think I have since that first day watching you step down from that wagon, chin up despite being scared half to death." Joy flooded through her. "I love you too. I did not expect it to happen so fast, but I do. I love you so much." They came together in a kiss that felt like a promise, like a vow renewed and deepened. When they moved to the bedroom, their lovemaking had a new intensity, a new tenderness, born of words finally spoken. Later, lying in Nathan's arms, Adelaide watched the moonlight play across the snow-covered landscape visible through the window. "Do you ever regret it?" Nathan asked softly. "Leaving everything you knew to come here?" "Not for a moment," Adelaide said honestly. "My old life was built on false foundations. This life, this love, it is real. It is mine. Ours." "Ours," Nathan agreed, pulling her closer. "Always ours." Winter gradually loosened its grip. January gave way to February, and though the cold remained, the worst of the storms passed. Adelaide fell into the rhythms of ranch life as if she had been born to it. She managed the house with efficiency, learned to predict what Nathan would need before he asked, became a familiar and welcomed presence in the daily operations. In late February, she woke feeling queasy. At first she thought she had eaten something that disagreed with her, but when the feeling persisted for several days, accompanied by unusual fatigue, she began to suspect the truth. She waited another week to be certain before telling Nathan. He had just come in from evening chores, washing up at the basin. "Nathan, I need to tell you something. Something in her tone made him turn immediately, concern crossing his features. "What is it? Are you all right?" "I am fine. Better than fine." She took a breath. "I think I am with child." Nathan froze, water dripping from his hands. "You think? All the signs are there. I have missed my monthly courses twice now, and I am sick most mornings." In 2 strides he crossed to her, gathering her into his arms. "Adelaide, that is wonderful. Are you happy about it?" "Terrified and happy in equal measure," she admitted. "It is earlier than we discussed, but yes, I am happy." "When?" "If my calculations are correct, probably late summer. August, maybe early September." Nathan pulled back to look at her, his hands framing her face. "A baby, our baby." Wonder filled his voice. "We need to take you to a doctor, make sure everything is well." "We will when the weather improves. For now I feel fine. Just tired and queasy, which is normal." "You should not be working so hard. No more heavy lifting, no more going out in the cold for chores." "Nathan, I am pregnant, not dying. Women have been having babies since the beginning of time while still living their lives. Not my wife, not carrying my child." His protectiveness would have been annoying if it wasn't so clearly born of love. "We will find a balance," Adelaide said firmly. "I will not do anything to risk the baby, but I also will not spend the next 6 months being treated like I am made of glass." They negotiated a compromise. Adelaide would continue her household work, but avoid heavy lifting and prolonged exposure to cold. Nathan hired a woman from town, Mrs. Chen, to come out twice a week to help with the heavier cleaning and laundry. As Adelaide's pregnancy progressed, the changes in her body became more obvious. Her dresses grew tight across the middle. Her breasts became tender and full. And to her delight, she felt the first flutters of movement in early May. "Nathan, give me your hand," she said one evening as they sat together after supper. She placed his palm on her rounded belly. A moment later, the baby kicked, a distinct push against his hand. Nathan's eyes went wide. "Was that our baby saying hello?" Nathan's face transformed, joy and awe mingling. He dropped to his knees and pressed his ear to her belly. "Hello in there, little one. This is your pa. We cannot wait to meet you." Adelaide ran her fingers through his hair, her heart so full she thought it might burst. This life, this man, this child growing inside her, it was more than she had ever dreamed possible. Spring brought new life to the ranch. Calves were born, filling the pastures with gangly, long-legged youngsters. The hands were busy from dawn to dark managing the new arrivals. Adelaide watched from the porch, her hand resting on her growing belly, feeling her own new life move and kick. "You are going to love it here," she told her unborn child. "Wide open spaces, honest work, and a father who will teach you everything worth knowing." In June, her old life intruded unexpectedly. A letter arrived from Boston, forwarded through several addresses before finding her. It was from her cousin Margaret, who wrote with news that Adelaide's former fiancé had been arrested for fraud and bigamy. He was in prison, his reputation destroyed, and several of the society families who had shunned Adelaide were now offering tepid apologies. Adelaide read the letter twice, then set it aside. "Bad news?" Nathan asked, noticing her expression. "News from Boston. It seems the man who ruined my reputation has gotten his comeuppance." And nothing. "It does not matter anymore. That life, those people, they are not mine anymore." She looked at Nathan, at the home they had built together. "This is my life now. You are my life now." Nathan crossed to her and pulled her into a careful embrace, mindful of her belly. "I am glad. But if you want to write back, tell them what you think of their apologies. I would support that." Adelaide considered it, then shook her head. "No, they do not deserve my energy or attention. I have more important things to focus on." She pressed his hand to her belly where the baby was doing acrobatics. like our future. As summer deepened, preparations for the baby intensified. Nathan converted the spare bedroom into a nursery, building a cradle from oak wood, smooth and sturdy. Adelaide sewed tiny clothes and blankets, her hands creating each piece with love. Mrs. Chen helped her prepare for the birth, sharing wisdom passed down through generations. She taught Adelaide breathing techniques, positions that might ease labor, signs that meant it was time. First babies often take their time, Mrs. Chen said as they folded the small clothes. But they come when they are ready, not when we want them to. In late August, as Adelaide was hanging wash to dry with Mrs. Chen's help, she felt the first real contraction, not the false pains she had been experiencing for weeks, but something deeper, more purposeful. Mrs. Chen, I think it is time. The older woman immediately shifted into calm efficiency. Go inside, rest. I will get Nathan. The hours that followed blurred together. Nathan stayed by her side, holding her hand, whispering encouragement. Mrs. Chen moved around the room with quiet competence, checking Adelaide's progress, bringing cool water, offering guidance. Labor was harder than Adelaide had imagined. Wave after wave of pain, building and cresting until she thought she couldn't bear another moment. But Nathan's steady presence anchored her, his voice cutting through the pain. You can do this, Adelaide. You are the strongest woman I know. Just a bit longer. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Adelaide gave one final push and felt the baby slip free. A moment of silence, then a thin wail filled the room. A boy, Mrs. Chen announced, placing the squalling infant on Adelaide's chest. A healthy, strong boy. Adelaide looked down at her son, at his red face and tiny fists, and fell instantly, completely in love. Nathan leaned over them both, his eyes wet with tears. He is perfect, Nathan said, his voice rough with emotion. You are perfect. The baby quieted at the sound of his father's voice, opening dark blue eyes that seemed to look right at them. What should we name him? Adelaide asked. Nathan ran a gentle finger down the baby's soft cheek. I always liked the name Noah. What do you think, Noah Cole? Adelaide tested it out. It is perfect. He is perfect. Mrs. Chen bustled around, cleaning up and checking to make sure Adelaide was healing properly. When she was satisfied, she prepared to leave. I will return tomorrow to check on you both, she said. For now, rest, both of you. Alone with their new family, Nathan sat carefully on the edge of the bed, unable to take his eyes off his son. I did not know I could feel like this, he admitted. Like my heart is too full to fit inside my chest. I know exactly what you mean. Adelaide shifted Noah slightly so Nathan could hold him. She watched her rough cowboy cradle their tiny son with infinite gentleness. I promise you, Nathan said softly, speaking to Noah, I will work every day to be worthy of you. To give you a good life, teach you right from wrong, show you what it means to be a good man. He is fortunate to have you as a father, Adelaide said. We are fortunate to have you, Nathan corrected, meeting her eyes over Noah's head. You brought love to this house, Adelaide. You made us a family. The first weeks with Noah were exhausting and wonderful in equal measure. Adelaide learned to function on broken sleep, to interpret different cries, to trust her instincts. Nathan helped whenever he could, walking the floor with Noah at night so Adelaide could rest, changing diapers with fumbling but willing hands. The ranch hands were utterly smitten with the baby. Tom whittled toys. Carlos sang soft Spanish lullabies when given the chance to hold him, and Billy was constantly asking to help. He is the whole ranch's baby, Nathan observed one evening, watching through the window as Tom showed Noah a newborn calf. They have no families of their own, Adelaide said. Of course they love him. He is family to them too. As Noah grew from newborn to infant, Adelaide marveled at the changes each day brought. His first smile, directed at Nathan, made them both cry. His first laugh, a belly-deep chuckle when Maggie licked his toes, was the best sound Adelaide had ever heard. The first year of Noah's life passed in a blur of milestones and memories. His first Christmas, where he was more interested in the wrapping than the gifts. His first word, which was "da" to Nathan's delight and Adelaide's mock dismay. His first steps, wobbling between his parents' outstretched hands. Through it all, the love between Adelaide and Nathan deepened and matured. They learned to navigate parenthood together, supporting each other through challenges, celebrating victories large and small. On their second anniversary, Nathan arranged for Mrs. Chen to watch Noah for an evening. He took Adelaide into town for dinner at the new restaurant that had opened on Main Street. "This is lovely," Adelaide said, looking across the candlelit table at her husband. "But you did not have to go to all this trouble. 2 years ago today, you stepped off a stagecoach into my life. That deserves celebrating. I was so scared that day," Adelaide remembered. "Cold, exhausted, terrified I had made a terrible mistake. And now I know it was the best decision I ever made." She reached across the table to take his hand. "You gave me a home, Nathan. A real home, not just a place to live, but a place where I belong." "You gave me the same," Nathan said. "Before you, I had a ranch. Now I have a reason for all of it, a family to build for, to protect, to love." They returned home to find Noah asleep and Mrs. Chen reading by the fire. After she left, Adelaide and Nathan stood together in the nursery doorway watching their son sleep. "I want more," Adelaide said softly. "More children, more of this life. Is that greedy?" "No, it is hopeful, and I want the same." Nathan wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "As many children as we are blessed with, as many years as God gives us, I want to spend them all with you." Time continued its steady march. Noah grew from baby to toddler, curious and energetic, exploring everything. Adelaide discovered she was pregnant again when Noah was 18 months old. This pregnancy was easier, her body knowing what to expect. Their daughter arrived in the spring, coming so quickly there was barely time to summon Mrs. Chen. Nathan delivered his own daughter with Adelaide coaching him through it, and when he placed the squalling infant in her mother's arms, they were both laughing and crying. "A girl," Nathan said, wonder in his voice. "We have a daughter." They named her Clara after Adelaide's mother. She was a calm baby, content to observe the world with solemn gray eyes, so different from Noah's constant motion. With 2 children, life became even more chaotic, but it was a joyful chaos filled with laughter and love. The ranch prospered too. Nathan's improvements to the herd paid off, and they were able to expand operations, hire another hand, and invest in better equipment. On a warm summer evening, when Noah was 4 and Clara nearly 2, Adelaide sat on the porch watching her children play in the yard. Noah was showing Clara how to stack wooden blocks, his young voice patient and serious. Nathan emerged from the barn and paused, taking in the scene. Adelaide's heart swelled as she watched him approach, this man who had become her everything. He climbed the porch steps and sat beside her, pulling her close. "Happy?" he asked, deliriously so. Adelaide leaned her head on his shoulder. "Sometimes I think about the woman who arrived here that winter day, so lost and alone. I wish I could tell her how wonderful life would become. She was brave to come all this way on faith." "I was desperate," Adelaide corrected. "But yes, brave too, and so fortunate. I could have ended up with someone cruel or dishonest or cold. Instead, I got you." Nathan kissed the top of her head. "I am the fortunate one." I placed an advertisement hoping for a housekeeper and got a wife, a partner, a love I did not know existed. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and purple. The land stretched out before them, this ranch they had built together into a true home. Noah ran up to the porch, Clara toddling after him. "Mama, Papa, look what Clara did. She stacked 5 blocks all by herself." Nathan scooped up his daughter while Adelaide pulled Noah into her lap. "That is wonderful, sweetheart. You are a good teacher, Noah. Can we have a story before bed?" Noah asked. "Of course." Adelaide stood, gathering Clara from Nathan's arms. "Let us get you both cleaned up first." Inside, the house glowed with lamplight. Adelaide and Nathan worked together with the ease of long practice, bathing the children, getting them into night clothes, settling them into their beds. Adelaide told the story while Nathan sat on the floor, his back against Noah's bed, holding Clara in his lap. When both children were asleep, they retreated to their own room. Nathan pulled Adelaide into his arms and she melted against him, this embrace as familiar and necessary as breathing. "I love our life," Nathan murmured against her hair. "Every single part of it. Even the parts where Noah decides 3 in the morning is a good time to practice his alphabet." Nathan chuckled. "Even those parts." They made love with the practiced ease of long familiarity, but no less passion for it. If anything, the years had deepened their connection, made them more attuned to each other's needs and desires. Afterward, they lay tangled together, talking softly about plans and dreams. "I have been thinking," Nathan said. "Maybe it is time to expand the house, add on a few more rooms. We might need the space." Adelaide propped herself up on one elbow, studying his face in the moonlight. "Nathan Cole, are you suggesting we have more children? Only if you want to. But yes, I would not mind a larger family." His hand rested on her hip. "This house, this ranch, it is meant for a family. A big one full of noise and life and love." "I would like that," Adelaide said softly. "I always wanted siblings growing up. It was lonely being an only child. I want our children to have each other. Then we will give them brothers and sisters. As many as we are blessed with." Over the next several years, they welcomed 3 more children. Thomas, who arrived 2 years after Clara and immediately showed his father's quiet determination. The twins, Sarah and Samuel, born on a snowy December morning exactly 6 years after Adelaide had first arrived in Petaluma. The house expanded to accommodate the growing family. Nathan built on additional bedrooms, a larger kitchen, a proper dining room. The ranch expanded too, now one of the most prosperous in the region, known for quality cattle and honest dealing through it all. Adelaide and Nathan's love remained the foundation everything else was built upon. They made time for each other despite the chaos of raising 5 children and running a ranch. Morning coffee before the house woke, stolen moments during the day, nights when they would slip away to the porch just to be alone together. "You remember that first winter?" Adelaide asked one evening 15 years after she had first arrived. They were alone on the porch, a rare moment of peace. "How cold it was, how uncertain everything seemed." "I remember thinking I did not deserve you," Nathan said. This beautiful, brave woman who had traveled so far on nothing but faith. "I remember thinking I would never truly belong here, that I would always be the mail-order bride, the outsider." Adelaide turned to look at the house, glowing with light and life. "I was so wrong. You became part of this place the moment you stepped off that stagecoach. You just did not know it yet." Inside, they could hear the children arguing about something, their voices rising. Adelaide started to get up, but Nathan stopped her. "Let them work it out. We have so little time, just us anymore." Adelaide settled back into his embrace. I do not regret a single moment of our crazy, chaotic life, but you are right, moments like this are precious. Adelaide, Nathan said seriously, I need you to know something. These 15 years with you have been the best of my life. You took a lonely man with a ranch and gave him a family. You took a house and made it a home. You took my heart and made it whole. Tears pricked Adelaide's eyes. Nathan Cole, after 15 years, you can still make me cry with your words. I am just speaking truth. He cupped her face in his work-roughened hands. I love you, Adelaide, more today than yesterday, more tomorrow than today. That will never change. I love you too, always. They kissed, and it was sweet and familiar and still sent sparks down Adelaide's spine. When they pulled apart, the sounds from inside had quieted. We should probably check on them, Adelaide said reluctantly, probably. But Nathan didn't move, holding her a moment longer. Thank you. For what? For saying yes. For coming west. For staying. For building this life with me. For everything. Adelaide smiled, the expression full of love and contentment. Thank you for keeping me warm that first winter, for making me yours, for making me happy every day since. They went inside together, hand in hand, to the life they had built. The children were in the living room, Noah reading to the younger ones while Clara helped Thomas with arithmetic. They looked up when their parents entered, faces bright. Did you have a nice talk? Clara asked, too wise for her 13 years. We did, Adelaide confirmed. But now I think it is time for bed, school tomorrow. The usual chorus of protests followed, but everyone knew the routine. Within an hour, all 5 children were tucked into their beds. Prayers said, final requests for water or another story negotiated. Finally alone again, Adelaide and Nathan prepared for bed themselves. As they slipped under the quilts Adelaide had made years ago, Nathan pulled her close. Do you ever wonder how things might have been different? He asked. If you had not answered my advertisement, if you had stayed in Boston? Never, Adelaide said firmly. That life was not meant for me. This life with you, this was always where I was meant to be. Nathan tightened his arms around her. I am glad the universe brought you to me. So am I. They drifted off to sleep wrapped in each other's arms, secure in the love they had built, the family they had created, the life they continued to share. Years continued to pass, bringing changes and challenges. The children grew, each developing their own personalities and dreams. Noah proved to have his father's gift with animals and love of the land. Clara had her mother's organizational skills and head for numbers, taking over the ranch accounts when she was barely 16. Thomas was quieter than his siblings, more interested in books than cattle, and Adelaide encouraged his scholarship. The twins, Sarah and Samuel, were inseparable, a unit unto themselves, already showing signs of wanting to explore the world beyond the ranch. Adelaide watched her children grow with pride and a touch of melancholy. Time moved so quickly. It seemed like just yesterday she was arriving in Petaluma, cold and frightened. Now she was 42 years old, her hair showing threads of silver, her hands bearing the marks of years of hard work. But Nathan still looked at her like she was the most beautiful woman in the world. His hair had gone gray at the temples, his face more lined, his body bearing the aches of decades of ranch work. But to Adelaide, he was as handsome as the day she had first seen him emerging from the barn. What are you thinking? Nathan asked one morning as they sat together with coffee, a ritual they had maintained through all the years. About time, Adelaide said. How quickly it passes. Noah is talking about courting the Miller girl, our oldest child thinking about marriage. Does that bother you? No. Well, yes, a little. Not that he is growing up, but that the time went so fast. She smiled at Nathan over her cup. I do not want to miss a single moment with you, and yet they keep slipping by. Nathan reached across the table to take her hand. "We have been blessed with many moments, Adelaide. Many years, and God willing we will have many more. I would like that, growing old with you, watching our grandchildren grow, sitting on this porch when we are too old to do much else, still drinking coffee together." "That is a good dream," Nathan said softly. "The best dream." As if to prove time's relentless march, Noah married Emma Miller the following spring. The wedding was held at the ranch, with half the county in attendance. Adelaide watched her son pledge his life to his chosen bride and remembered her own wedding, so simple and quick, but no less meaningful. "He is a good man," Nathan whispered, standing beside her. "We raised him right." "We did," Adelaide agreed, tears streaming down her face. "We really did." Noah and Emma built a house on the western edge of the ranch, planning to work the land alongside Nathan. Their first child, a boy they named Nathan after his grandfather, arrived the following winter. Holding her grandson for the first time, Adelaide felt the circle of life complete. She had arrived in Petaluma with nothing, running from scandal and shame. Now she had a family that sprawled across the ranch, roots that went deep into this California soil, a legacy of love and hard work. "You are thinking deep thoughts," Nathan observed, watching her with the baby. "I am thinking how far we have come, how much we have built together." Adelaide looked up at her husband, this man who had been her salvation and her joy. "I am thinking how grateful I am for every single day." Nathan sat beside her, wrapping his arm around them both. "The day you stepped off that stagecoach was the day my life truly began. Everything before that was just waiting for you." Clara married at 21, a banker's son from San Francisco who promised to let her continue managing the ranch finances. The twins left for college, Sarah studying to be a teacher, Samuel interested in law. Thomas surprised everyone by announcing he wanted to join the seminary. "Are you certain?" Adelaide asked her quiet son. "It is a hard life in many ways." "So is ranching," Thomas pointed out. "But Papa does it because he feels called to it. I feel called to this, Mama. Called to serve God and help people." "Then we support you," Nathan said firmly. "Every man has to find his own path. We are proud of you for finding yours." The house, so full of noise and life for so many years, grew quiet. Adelaide found herself with time on her hands for the first time in decades. She returned to writing, filling journal after journal with stories and observations. She became more involved in the town, helping establish a library and a school, but the heart of her life remained Nathan and the ranch. They still worked side by side, though the hard labor now fell to younger hands. They still shared coffee each morning and sat together on the porch each evening. They still reached for each other in the night, their passion tempered by age but no less real. On their 30th anniversary, Nathan surprised her with a trip to San Francisco. It was Adelaide's first time in the city, and she was overwhelmed by the crowds, the noise, the tall buildings. "You like it?" Nathan asked as they walked along the waterfront. "It is impressive," Adelaide said carefully, "but I prefer our ranch. Is that strange? I used to dream of cities and travel, and now all I want is home." "Not strange at all. Home is where your heart is. My heart has always been wherever you are." They returned to the ranch after a week, both glad to be back. The grand adventure had been wonderful, but there was no place like home. As they moved into their 60s, health issues began to arise. Nathan developed arthritis in his hands, the decades of hard work taking their toll. Adelaide's eyesight began to fail, making her beloved reading more difficult. But they adapted, helping each other with what the other could no longer easily do. Noah took over more of the ranch operations, with his own children now helping with chores. Clara and her husband moved back from San Francisco, building a house in town but visiting often. Thomas was ordained and served a small church in a neighboring county. The twins returned after finishing their education, Sarah taking a teaching position in Petaluma, Samuel opening a law practice. The ranch house filled again, this time with grandchildren, 15 in total, ranging from infants to teenagers. Adelaide loved having them around, the noise and chaos reminding her of when her own children were young. "We did this," Nathan said one evening, watching their extended family gather for Sunday dinner. "We built this." "We did," Adelaide agreed. "From nothing but hope and determination, we built something that will last long after we are gone." Nathan took her hand, his grip still strong despite the arthritis. "No regrets, not a single one. Just that our time together is not infinite. I would take forever with you if I could." "We have had a good run," Adelaide said, tears in her eyes. "Better than I ever dreamed possible." "It is not over yet," Nathan said firmly. "We still have time, more moments to share, more memories to make." And they did. Several more good years, watching grandchildren grow, seeing the ranch continue to prosper, enjoying the simple pleasure of each other's company. Nathan passed first, on a quiet spring morning just after his 72nd birthday. He went peacefully in his sleep, Adelaide beside him as she had been for 43 years. The grief was overwhelming, a pain like nothing she had ever known. But she found comfort in their children and grandchildren, in the legacy they had built together. Adelaide lived another 5 years, staying in the ranch house Noah had insisted she keep. She spent her days writing, reading to her great-grandchildren who had started to arrive, and tending the garden she and Nathan had planted so many years ago. On a cold December morning, almost exactly 50 years after she had first arrived in Petaluma, Adelaide passed away in her sleep. Her children found her in her bed, a smile on her face, Nathan's picture clutched in her hands. They buried her beside Nathan on a hill overlooking the ranch. The entire county came to pay their respects to the woman who had arrived as a mail-order bride and become the heart of one of the most respected families in the region. At the service, Noah spoke about his parents' love, the example they had set, the legacy they had left. "My mother used to tell me about the day she arrived here," he said, his voice strong despite his grief. "How cold she was, how scared, how uncertain. But my father kept her warm, made her his, gave her a life beyond her wildest dreams, and she did the same for him. Together, they built something beautiful, something lasting, something that will continue for generations." The family gathered at the ranch house after the service, filling it once more with life and love. As the sun set, painting the California sky in brilliant colors, Noah stood on the porch where his parents had spent so many evenings. His wife Emma joined him, slipping her hand into his. They had a beautiful love story. "They did," Noah agreed. "The kind that only comes along once in a lifetime. The kind that changes everything." Inside the house, their children and grandchildren gathered, sharing stories about Adelaide and Nathan, keeping their memory alive. The ranch would continue, passing to the next generation, and the next, built on the foundation of love and hard work that Adelaide and Nathan had established all those years ago. The mail-order bride who had arrived in winter, cold and alone, had found warmth in a cowboy's arms and built an empire of love that would endure long after she was gone. She had come looking for a fresh start and found a forever home. She had married a stranger and discovered her soulmate. She had traveled 3,000 miles on faith and found everything she had ever needed. It was a love story for the ages, born in the wild frontier, tested by time and hardship, and proven true through decades of devotion. Adelaide and Nathan Cole had lived and loved fully. and in doing so, had created something that would never die. Their love, their family, their legacy would continue on, a testament to the power of taking a chance on the unknown, of opening your heart to possibility, of keeping each other warm through all of life's winters. And so the story that began with a cold arrival and a cowboy's promise ended not with an ending at all, but with continuation. The ranch still stood, the family still thrived, and the love that had started it all still echoed through the walls of the home Adelaide and Nathan had built together. They had lived well, loved deeply, and left behind something beautiful. What more could anyone ask for?